How's everybody doing? Glenn Mercurio, GS6gun from Gemstar Custom Razors here. I hope you all can see this. I'm going to give you a professional build trick on wood scales. One of the things about wood scales, and you see it quite a bit, when you try and pin them, and it's not really a big problem with wood like this really hard ebony, but some of the other woods, in fact all woods really, but you tend to put these big huge honking washers on there, because if you try and use the tiny little washers that used to come on the razors, and that some of you have, the tiny washers will sink into the wood, and it's kind of hard to stop that. So I'm going to give you this is something I've been doing for years now, but it's a professional build trick, how to stop that so you can use the proper washers. It's really actually pretty simple. After you've set up your scales and you've done your final shaping and you've done your you put your holes in and the scales are apart and you're ready to usually I do this right about the 220 stage, 220 grit, after I've sanded and shaped and everything on the lower grits. When I get to the 220 and I start smoothing it up before I've thinned it down, okay, the scale is still quite thick, still about 1/16 of an inch thick. I'm sorry, 1/8 of an inch thick. So it's still a fairly thick scale. What I want to do is I want to strengthen the holes. So I have my 5/64 hole drilled, and I always use a 5/64. Especially on, I learned that doing wood scales. You get a percussion bulge on your pin at 1/16. If you pin at 1/16 or drill at 1/16, you pin at 1/16, that percussion bulge can split the scale that fast. Anyway, 5/64 is what I use. So after I've drilled my holes and I'm ready to start final sanding, thin down and shaping and everything, right before I go to that, I get the thinnest super glue I can, just regular old super glue. Oops, hope I didn't kick that all the way out. Okay, we're still good. Sorry, just kicked the leg of the camera. And I put 1 or 2 drops of super glue inside of each hole. Okay, now you want to do this before, because the super glue will mess up your finish. You want the super glue inside the hole. You don't want the super glue on the outside of your wood. So you want it to go down inside there so that it strengthens, it gets wicked into the wood, and it actually strengthens the hole and the wood surrounding the hole. And I just put a couple of drops in each hole. Now of course you're going to have to re-drill the holes, okay? I mean, that's just a given. And I go from the outside to the inside, because that's the way the pins are going to go. So you want the strongest part of this idea to go to the outside. And then you kind of want to see the way I'm lifting it up and I see the glue underneath. This is the backside of it, you know, the double-sided tape stuff that doesn't stick. That's what I use to put it on. That way. And when I lift it up, you'll notice that the glue went right through. Okay? Now, just let that sit, let it dry. Then you start doing your sanding. You're going to thin it down. You're going to sand it. You go up to 300-400. I'm not sure what you guys sand up to. But anyway, before you do any of your finishing, before you do any of that, you just let this dry and sit for a couple hours, even an hour because it's thin super glue. And that will strengthen the wood around and inside the actual pinning hole. Again, you are going to have to re-drill that hole, but you have a nice strong spot to actually pin on, so that way you can use the little tiny pins if you want, or little tiny washers if you want. Sorry, I'm so scatterbrained. I got this thing going 4 different directions. But anyway, that's a nice tip to remember for especially your not so hard woods, you know, like your olive woods, some of your burls, you know, stuff like cocobolo, ebonies, things like that are so hard it doesn't really make too much of a difference, but it doesn't hurt either. You'll never see it. It's in there, and you're actually strengthening the wood around the pinning holes. Anyway, once again, Glenn Mercurio, GS6gun from Gemstar Custom Razors. Just a quick little pro build tip for you. Thanks for watching. Bye.